The Young Man Who Destroyed the Ottoman Empire. Lawrence of Arabia translated. This is the story of a young man who alone did what the armies of many countries could not do together. This story begins in 1907 AD. Thomas Lawrence, a student studying at Oxford, Jesus School. This boy was very different from other students. Where other boys were interested in sports and girls of his age, he was interested in thick history books. He would often read historical books, especially those that mentioned the Crusades, with great interest. He would meditate on the rise and fall of the Crusaders, their mistakes and failures, and feel himself in their place. This obsession of Thomas Lawrence grew to such an extent that he decided to travel along the routes through which the Crusaders attacked the Muslims centuries ago. So he embarked on a tour of Muslim countries, where Lawrence toured the forts built by the Crusaders and researched other historic buildings. Seeing his interests, he got a job in the British Archaeological Department. One of Lawrence's qualities was that he picked up the local languages very easily and blended in with the people as if he was a part of them. Meanwhile, the First World War had begun, in which there were powers like Great Britain, France, and Russia on one side, and Austria, Germany, and the Ottoman Empire on the other side. Since Lawrence was familiar with the Arab regions, he was hired to make war maps. The British knew that the Ottoman Empire was weak, but even in this weakness, they did not have the patience to compete with the Ottomans, the proof of which was presented by Khalil Pasha. By defeating the British on the banks of the Tigris River, the young boy Lawrence, who did not look like a soldier at all, only 5 feet tall and very weak, suddenly joined the battle and turned the tide of the battle. He had thoroughly studied the ancient battles of the Crusaders and the Muslims. He was well aware of the strengths and weaknesses of the Muslims. He knew that as long as there is spirit among the Muslims, we cannot spoil them. Lawrence's solution to this problem was to make Muslims fight among themselves, so that the spirit of jihad would be suppressed and evils like bigotry and nationalism. The Arab country was under the control of the Turks for the last 500 years when Sultan Selim I conquered it and made it a part of the Ottoman Empire. Lawrence's strategy was to turn the Arabs against the Turks and capture the Ottoman Empire in the east and prevent it from intruding into European affairs. So, he reached Jeddah with the blessing of the British government and came here to meet Sharif Naka Hussein bin Ali. Sharif Naka Hussein and his son Faisal were shown very golden dreams by Lawrence and promised to fight against the Turks. After the success of the uprising, an empire will be established on all Arab lands, which will include the territories of Palestine and Israel, in addition to Iraq and Syria. The caliphate and kingship of this kingdom will be given to Sharif Naka Hussein. Here, Lawrence made a report of the equipment and resources needed in this war and presented it to British General Alan Hyde. The British officers liked this strategy very much, and they helped the Arabs by handing over them best weapons and vast resources to Lawrence. Lawrence used to spend a lot of money in order to unite the Arab tribes, where wealth was not a question. There were also very beautiful spy women with him, which he used well to attract his opponents, but most of the Arabs only he participated in this rebellion in the name of his freedom. Now Lawrence, along with a small army of Arabs, began to attack the Turkish cantonments. Besides destroying the Hejaz railway line, which was the only means of supplying the Turks in Arabia, with supplies cut off, the Turkish army was trapped in the cities. While living among the Arabs, he had adopted the same status as the Arabs. He used to wear Arabic clothes, pray with them, while he also memorized many Quranic verses which he often used as references. He used to make such difficult routes in the Arabian desert that even the Arabs would be surprised to see him. He was so fearless that he disguised himself as a woman and sneaked into the Turks' tents while the Turks were spending money like water in search of him. Collecting small successes, Lawrence now planned the capture of the cantonment of Aqaba, a defensive point of great importance and therefore impregnable. But instead of attacking it from the front, Lawrence with his small army marched across the desert on a perilous attack from the rear, and after a great struggle, Aqaba was conquered. It was very surprising to the Turks and the Allied forces how a strong garrison like Aqaba was. Conquered by a few hundred Arabs, Lawrence did not stop there, but he invaded various small settlements and towns, first reaching Dera and then Damascus. And then Damascus was also captured by the Arabs without any external help. The war ended with the defeat of Germany and the Ottoman Empire. In this war, the entire British army did not cause as much damage to the Ottoman Empire as this 5'4" Englishman Lawrence did. Now came the time to fulfill the promises made by Lawrence to the Arabs, which included the establishment of a vast Arab state. But the best parts of the Ottoman Empire had already been divided between Russia, Great Britain, and France. So the Arabs could find nothing but a waterless desert area. The biggest loss of the First World War happened to the Muslims when, instead of a stable Muslim state, the Muslims were divided into many small parts and are still divided. Lawrence of Arabia left for India for an unknown expedition after the Great War, where he also spent several days in Karachi. After that, he appeared once in Hong Kong and once in China. After quitting his job, he wrote a book containing 7 pillars of wisdom. He was fond of riding high-speed motorcycles, and in May 1935, this hobby took his life. Friends, the Ottoman Empire, which has been established for 650 years, which saw many rises and falls, many big armies came and clashed with it. But this great empire of Muslims remained in its place forever. He was defeated by a rebellion that arose within himself, which was led by a person who was apparently sympathetic to the Arabs, but inwardly a crusader mujahid who wanted to avenge the defeat of the armies of his ancestors. He came, and unfortunately he succeeded.